Okay, so we're rustically live, hopefully here. Right, okay, so welcome to the Urban Agriculture Show. Already had a little issue with the camera, an issue with the stream, but oh well, that's just how it is sometimes. Okay, so if you're first time tuning in, this is a stream about growing your own food and a little bit of self-sufficiency and self-reliance. So in the same spirit of that, the virtual pub is now on hiatus, so it's going to be streamed direct from me. So again, I'm learning all these bits along the way about having to be self-sufficient in this way. And so if you do want to follow along with what I'm doing, you can get me on Facebook at Joseph Wild or Instagram at Joseph Wild as well. So going to do a few bits today. Going to look at making your own fertilizer because it's free. We're also going to look at other bits and pieces. We're going to do some planting out today and some more polyculture, so growing plants for different properties in the same place. I'm going to do a little bit of the science behind it as well. And yeah, I'm going to do some planting out. So first off, obviously virtual pub, first 3 episodes are on there. Now I'm just going to be streaming it up, but I'm going to look at other things like YouTube and through Instagram TV to make it more accessible, hopefully to continue. I didn't want to have any lapse in the show, so I thought, well, we'll just do it, we'll just carry it on. So it's been great to do it through the virtual pub, but now we'll just roll in again, self-reliant, self-sufficient. So main thing today we're going to look at is making your own fertilizer, because it's cheap, it's free, and it's actually much easier than you'd think, and it's all natural. You're not going to be worrying about what's in it. You're not going to be looking at long ingredient lists that are made in factories. We're just going to go through some real basics. So the main one we're going to be making today, I'll show you, is that it's a nettle base. So we've got a big bucket of nettles that I got from the park and from the lane down by me earlier, just kind of chopped up. I watched a couple of videos and seen a couple of things that said don't put the seeds in it. They're actually in seed at this time of year, but I found some stuff that wasn't in it. We're going to add a couple of weird ingredients on top of that to just try and make it more potent. Now, just as a bit of a disclaimer, don't think because it's natural that it's not going to be strong. Once this is finished in a week or maybe 2 weeks, we're actually going to dilute it. But for the moment, we're just going to make what's the base fertilizer is. So if you've ever, had things like kimchi or maybe sauerkraut or a sourdough starter, it starts from this base culture that's there. So what we're going to do is try and use this as our base, and then we're going to add try and seed it with a starter culture to essentially speed up the process and make it more nutritional. So if you're unfamiliar with it, things like a sourdough or any kind of fermented food like that, kombucha is another one. It's an anaerobic process. It's a process without air. So what you're doing is the bacteria are going to feed on the carbohydrates, which is the plant matter, and then on top of that they're going to convert the sugar that is in the carbohydrate to alcohol. So they're going to produce CO2 bubbles. So that's how you know it's active. So what I did have knocking around is a big old tub of kimchi. Now, so this is all the bacteria that's in this, that's made the culture, was essentially on the plant anyway. It was on the leaves of the cabbage it was made out of, with a few added extras in there. So we're going to try and seed this with this and speed it up and also make it nutritious for the plants. And it's all supernatural. I'm going to try a couple of other things along the way. I'm going to try and use some sourdough starter and see if the results are different, but it's really quite new for me. So we'll go into it. So first thing, got our raw carbohydrates here, our plant matter, and I was going to do a couple of other things, but this is just nettles, because I thought if I start trying other things, I was going to put comfrey, all these other. Now you run the risk of misidentification, where I'm pretty sure anyone watching this will be, they'll be able to identify a nettle. It's very unlikely that you're going to misidentify a stinging nettle. So obviously, don't be a hero. I was wearing comments, and yes, I can see the comments this week, which is quite good. So we're just getting better. We're going to be getting better and better every week. So this is our base. So just nettles, pretty much. Now we do have a couple of secret ingredients. So I did earlier this week. I went and foraged. This is like pepper dulse or red dulse. It's a type of seaweed. Hi Alex, man. Hi Jack. See a lot of people tuning in. That's cool. Now, as a disclaimer, because we were on lockdown and stuff, I actually had a little run-in with the local police. So they were like, foraging's not cool, because I was in the water. They told me to get out of the water. I was like, do you know what, they're just doing a job, like, and it's a bit of a funny time for all of us. I was like, look man, no worries, but this is obviously going to be different once lockdown is over. But yeah, when you're picking your nettles, just in the comments, Jack, don't be a hero. Yeah, just wear gloves. I've seen all these guys, I was watching a couple of videos about making nettle fertilizers, and they're all kind of ragging it off the stem and that, you know, no gloves. But you know, who are you trying to impress? You know, that's it. So I have got this little bit of seaweed here that I'm going to use as well as a note. Any seaweed that is attached to a rock in the UK is pretty much edible within reason. Obviously do your research, you know. You can always shout, put a little question in, and I'll see what I can do. Seaweed's kind of still a new forage crop for me, but either way, at the moment I would not recommend it, because I run afoul of the law, and you know, who needs that? So let's just, for the minute, so this is going to be, I haven't got too much of this, but it's very nutrient dense. What you have in seaweed is a lot of trace minerals and stuff. You have, like, you know, a lot of things like zinc, magnesium, which are really, those trace minerals are a big deal. That's, for plant growth, those are the things that can cause real deficiencies. And all, you know, it can make your plants look weird and get split fruit or pests and that, so really just adding into that. So we're going to chuck this in. That just goes into our pot. Now, because we're trying to speed up the process, what I've got here, and I think it's just a couple of tablespoons of white sugar, so hopefully this is going to it's just going to start eating this first, but sort of essentially start the process off and make it that bit faster. And then all I've got in this one, probably 2-3 tablespoons of the juice from the kimchi, so that'll go in as well. A couple of problems with my tripod, so you're going to have to sort of bear with me. Now, I had a few trays out as well, so I just took mostly the rainwater that was knocking around in my trays, so I'm going to cover this. Remember, this is a concentrate. And oh my days, there's a hole in my bucket. That's amazing. We're going to have to rethink this quickly. That's hilarious. So yeah, we're just going to fill this up with, same as you're going to do, you know, a lot of, if you're going to ferment a vegetable to eat. Just enough water to cover. And you don't want any air to get to it, so what you want, because you can have mould, is you want all the root material, so all of the actual vegetation covered up. So I'll try and show you now. So I've just put a plate on top, and I'll try not to drop my phone into this bucket, and now I'm going to just cover that with cling film and put it somewhere really cool, out of direct sunlight. And that's it. Probably leave it for like 1 or maybe 1 week. I'll keep coming back to it. But we're going to brew it like a kimchi or like a sauerkraut. This is completely new to me. I've never done this, but it just made sense in my mind. Someone's probably done it before, but this is a new thing for me, and it hit me. And I'll probably do the same thing with a sourdough starter. So that much work, and I'm going to put that somewhere out of direct sunlight. So some of the stuff I did see on that, once you've made that, it should go quite a deep sort of green-brown colour. It's probably going to smell pretty bad as well, but that's kind of a good thing. The seaweed, obviously, for the nutrients, the micronutrients, and nettles especially, you know, there's no point me telling you this if I don't give you some reasons why. They're very deep rooted, so they bring up a lot of nutrients from down the down the subsoil, much deeper, and they can actually bring those up to the surface, so where we can actually use them and access them. So the next plant we're going to do is we're going to do, if I can fix this tripod scene, try and get it so you can see. So I've got a plant here, just already set up, the trusty old hori hori. I've got some nasturtium. You know, they're ready to go in. They've been knocking around for a while. You know, you may as well just get them in something. And same with these courgettes. They're already starting to. They've got little flowers on them, so it means they're ready to start fruiting pretty much. So we want to get them in. So same as last time. And the reason I've paired these two above anything is because courgettes can get really big, but they tend to go up, where nasturtiums tend to trail and will sort of spill out the bucket. So when we're talking about utilising vertical space, it's not always up, sometimes vertical is down. So I'm just going to put two there, two of the courgettes there, and nasturtiums, so you've got a kind of a diamond shape. But they're all, everything, like last week, it's all pre-watered. Same, the actual pot, the potting medium, and this is pre-watered, and it's just normal multi-purpose compost from Asda. You know, nothing special, nothing too fancy. I'm just going to push that in there. I'll probably come back and trim some of this up, because some of these with courgettes, you do have to, those leaves, the older leaves, they're not really doing anything after a while, so they're not really, you know, they're not photosynthesizing as well as they need to grow. So what you can do is keep this crown of growth again, like we said with kale, and then you can just, you know, you're sort of minimizing on watering, and hopefully the thing with the nasturtium is it'll cut down the watering as well, because what we'll have is we'll have a plant that's covering the soil and shading the soil, so it's actually going to lock in that moisture that bit better than if it was just in open soil. But to sort of recap on a few bits did last week, we did some harvesting. I've actually taken about 2 or 3 nice harvests this week of like kales for green smoothies. I've been putting them on my Instagram story and been pulling out quite a lot of radishes. So, you know, they're really quick. The stuff I wanted to do today, it just wasn't ready in time. Like, you know, that's gardening all over. So sometimes you've got to change your plan on the spot. So again, I'll try and flip this around. That's it. So the nasturtium here, I'm going to plant it pretty close to the edge, because what I want this is I want it to spill over. And you know, they will put on, nasturtiums put on growth quite quickly. They'll flower, they'll be very aesthetically pleasing. So even though it looks quite close at the moment, I'm gonna, once these have settled in after a day or so, I'm gonna come through and trim some of the older growth on these. But yeah, some stuff's gonna change. Obviously I'm gonna try and put out as much content as I can on these Sundays. Today with a change of format and, you know, change of stream, I'm hoping we can you know, keep this continuity of it. But I do have a new site. Essentially, you know, I'm renting a space off my friends at the moment, and because they're both furloughed, they've actually cleared quite a lot of space in a garden that was quite overgrown. Now, we haven't done anything in open ground so far. It's all just been this kind of container gardening. So if we go across, I'll show you the new site. So this was previously a pond, but actually it was under about 6 foot of just sort of junk, and I'll try and show you. But really there's 3 huge beds there. We just didn't really get time to clear it with the weather, and with just time on that. So once this is clear, this means, I suppose, what you call main crops. So the much bigger stuff that you wouldn't do, that you can do in containers, but you're just going to have a lot more success in open ground. So we're going to do some potatoes, we're going to do pumpkins, which have gone in, and yeah, maybe some corn. It's still a good place in the season where you can maybe sort of chuck a few different things in. And you know, sometimes if you did it 3 weeks or 4 weeks later than now, it might be too late, so you could do all that work and then it might not fruit. Yeah, someone just seen the in the comments as well, you can eat the nasturtium flower as well. It's great for a garnish. And we'll go over to the kales, because the stuff I've been explaining over the past few weeks will make sense now. I've taken a few harvests. So we've got one especially here, we're really taking a lot of this out, so they're just getting like this very slim sort of growth, and you're getting all this space at the bottom open up. So I'll probably take another harvest off this today, and you know, all these other ones like the red chard, same thing. You know, it's still got tons and tons of stuff. We're not necessarily harvesting a lot at the moment, but it is here to harvest. And what I have seen, you know, we've got some more things like marigolds here, we've got the little butterfly lavender. And so what we're doing there, we call that pollinator attractors, or they're utility plants to some extent, because they're going to be bringing the right kind of life that we want in. So things like ladybirds, hoverflies and wasps, and the main one is bees, and having that bee forage for them. So they're going to be coming in to check out the lavender, check out the marigolds, but they're also going to be pollinating all the tomatoes and everything at the same time. So I'm going to leave it there for today. Obviously the weather's not great, but we'll catch up and we'll have a little look as we go along. And I'll see you next Sunday at 4, and we'll go from there. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll post it afterwards, okay? Thank you very much. Take care.